Good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This morning, I'm very pleased and thrilled to have as my guest one of my close friends and colleagues, Dean Fealk, who's the Northern California co-managing partner at DLA Piper. He's also a Wall Street Journal best-selling author and a leader in public affairs. Dean, welcome to the program.
Richard, it's so great to be here. It's great to be on your show. I'm a big fan of what you've done for quite a long time. So it's an honor to be here and good to see you.
Good to see you too, Dean. So let me start by asking you how you knit being a law firm partner in management, being a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and a leader of public affairs. I mean, each one of those could be a full-time career path. How do you really knit those together and make the sum of those more than each individual part, as they say?
Well, I think part of it, at least for me, part of it has been that I think it's very important to really nurture interests. And so I've made it a point throughout my career to really set aside significant time to do the things that really keep me energized. And I also talk about it a bit in the book, that I've tried to set aside 1/3 of my professional time to do the kinds of things that you mentioned, to be active in the community, to engage on policy issues that are of importance to me. And then, ultimately in the end, I think that they really do, they are synergistic. They reinforce one another. And so ultimately, we're talking about problem solving, whether we're solving problems for clients in the community, again, policy issues that may go beyond our immediate communities. But I think having a variety of experiences to draw from, broadening your network, trying to expand your thinking as a lifelong learner, all of these things only make you, I think, more effective in all of the things that you may do wherever your travels take you. So I think, on one, obviously time, hours in the day, our most precious resource and a finite resource. But by the same token, I think we can think about a lot of the things that we do as dovetailing and not necessarily being diluted.
Yeah. Now, I interview a lot of authors, and each one of them say how much work writing a book is. What motivated you to take that step and take on that gargantuan task?
Well, I mean, look, the book was really a kind of a COVID, in some ways, a COVID stay-at-home project. But my co-author Carrie Rich and I had been talking about all of these incredible leaders in our network, and she is a very longstanding social entrepreneur, has trained leaders through her Global Good Fund. I've had the good fortune of working with a lot of terrific leaders in business, in law, in a number of my networks. And so we start talking about, what distinguishes this generation of leaders. And we sort of germinated the idea of a new citizen statesperson, and people who, not unlike entrepreneurs in a more traditional sense, who scale a company and have used new technologies to, again, scale that company and quickly grow and maybe take best practices from people all over the world, and indeed take their business all over the world, whether through research and development or through human capital across borders. Similarly, the people we were seeing as social entrepreneurs, people we were seeing in the private sector, were doing all of these things in the name of making their communities better. So we thought it would be fun to do it. And it's always great to get out of the comfort zone a little bit. As you say, I had not written a book. And so in many ways, it was a passion project and a lot of fun. And I just think, for those folks out there that are thinking of doing something that they wouldn't normally do, whether write a book or do something in the theater or start a new venture, what do you have to lose? right? I just kept, Richard, the truth is, I just kept telling myself, this will never be printed. And that's kind of how I overcame some of my reticence to, is it going to, am I going to be proud of it? Is it going to be perfect? Set all of that aside and just give yourself the space to try new things and make mistakes and just have fun. I mean, you only live once.
Well, Wall Street Journal bestseller is not easy to accomplish. Would you do it again?
Well, sure, why not? I mean, part of my reaction to that is let's do something totally different. I mean, we did that, but I do think writing a book in particular is a great exercise, maybe in our, in the context of our frenetic lives, to sit down and impose some degree, hopefully some degree of discipline and organization,
Mm.
and drill down on our ideas, and so yes, I mean, I think writing a book, very much like reading a book, is that essential deep dive that, in our daily lives, we're bombarded with information. We're probably pulled in a lot of different direction. We have so much information in the palm of our hands. And so anything that gives us time for reflection, and a way to really, yeah, zero in, I think is incredibly, incredibly valuable.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Well, now you obviously do a ton of stuff in public fairs and organizations, and we probably don't have time to talk about all of them, but maybe just pick one or two that you either particularly like or particularly have done recently, or something that's just that kind of leaps out in your mind as something that you really enjoy doing in, say, in the recent past.
Well, as you say, I've been fortunate enough to be involved with a number of, whether in the political space. I just got back from the Democratic Convention, and I serve on the board of the National Democratic Institute. On the political side, I love serving in the community. Uh, Governor Newsom was generous enough and kind enough to appoint me to serve on the California Workforce Development Board. Just incredible to see the work that we are doing, at the university level and community college level, and with apprenticeships, and to really, really prepare our workforce here for the 21st century and beyond. So just great things, so many things in the community. Um, this year, Richard, will be our 17th annual Halifax International Security Forum,
Mm.
and I've been one of the founding members. It's just an incredible, incredible organization based in Washington, D.C., and an event that brings leaders, from democracies from all over the world to come and have dialogue on the most pressing issues of the day. And so, we have obviously, very serious conflicts in Ukraine, in Gaza. We'll continue to talk about things like the impact of artificial intelligence and climate change and the rise of China. And so I'm really proud of the work that we have done over this last, 15, 17 years. And there's so much, obviously, so much more to be done. These issues do not get solved overnight, but if you believe in human progress and you believe in bringing people of goodwill together, particularly those with shared democratic values, then I think it's a really worthy endeavor. And I just get really excited for some of the conversations that we have and that come out of that event in particular.
So how do these things, the Halifax, you mentioned the Workforce Development Committee, your book. Now, how does that feed into your legal practice? How does that, what is the
Well,
synergy with that?
I, I mean, listen, clients, and many of our clients at DLA Piper are, are industry leading companies. They're many of the most, innovative companies on the planet, particularly those that we represent here in Northern California. And they are looking for fresh ideas and fresh solutions. They are they're very interested in the success of their business and their shareholders, and they are, they are also incredibly committed to the communities and the consumers that they serve. And so, knowing their consumers, knowing their workforce, knowing the environments that they operate in is incredibly, incredibly valuable. Yes, of course. Lawyers should first and foremostly know the law. There's no doubt about it. But it's really just table stakes, right? I think the more varied and nuanced our backgrounds, the more we bring to the table as advisors. So, and you know this, Richard, as a lawyer, or I would say a recovering lawyer and law firm leader yourself. So there's a lot of lawyers out there, and there are a lot of really talented lawyers out there. But when I'm looking for a lawyer, I look for those people who have really, I think, engaged in a very deep and sort of three-dimensional way in a lot of the issues that I'm looking to solve.
Yeah. Let me take you back. Let me ask you, is the career that you have and the activities, is that the thing that a young Dean Fealk who was just starting law school would have envisioned for himself? What is, tell me how that's different or the same
It's
as
so
what the
yeah.
young Dean Fealk would have envisioned?
Young Dean Fealk. I'd like to go back and meet him. There's so much to share. It's like I think maybe like many young people, I didn't fully know what to envision in a career. It's hard to predict more than a couple of years out, maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I grew up in the Midwest in the Detroit suburbs. I found myself, um, I'm not going to take you back to kindergarten, Richard. Don't worry. I found myself, interning in the state Senate in Michigan. Loved politics. My mentor, Senator Jackie Vaughn, encouraged me to try to see a bit of the world. He had studied at Oxford. He encouraged me to go overseas and study. So I had the opportunity to do that and spend time in Europe. And I was a Fulbrighter in Asia. And I just wanted to have this adventure and this journey that took me, to exotic ports of call, and to kind of, if you to kind of be, at least to have a seat at the table. If I didn't have a seat at the table, at least have a seat to be a witness to some of the things that are unfolding in the world. And so I guess the short answer is I've always wanted to be involved. I've always been interested in policy and politics. I've always wanted to touch international issues. So for me personally, being in big law has been an incredible platform. I mean, to do that. Of course, there are others, whether you're an entrepreneur doing incredible things in government or an NGO. And of course, young people these days have more varied careers than ever before, and they move more fluidly between and among these sectors, which is really wonderful in a lot of ways.
Yeah. What would you say really drives you to do all the things you do? I mean, is it career ambition? Is it the fun of it? I mean, what is it that, gets you up in the morning and says, I want to do these things that need to be done today, or that you want to do?
Gosh, I mean, sometimes it's hard to self psychoanalyze what really drives us, but I do think, like you said, having fun. I do think finding the things that light you up or get you excited. I do ask myself that question a lot.
Yeah.
What's exciting? What do I want to do? But you said ambition. I don't think ambition is a dirty word. For me, ambition, in its best forms, shouldn't be about, trying to aggrandize ourselves. But like ambition is, let's see what we can do. Let's see, many people see a mountain and they want to climb it just because it's there. And I really do identify with that. But there are, ideally, you also care deeply about some kind of issue and helping people and thinking about how we are connected in so many ways. But I think if you marry those things, Richard, and you say, I would say, what excites me? What would be a challenge? Something that would, be not easy, because nothing is meant to be easy, and allow me to grow. Then that would be a direction I would love to go in. But I think too many people allow conventional wisdom, trends, to dictate what they should be doing. I mean, to state the blindingly obvious, we do live in very much in a consumerist society. Pop culture looms very large. It's not all things in pop culture are bad. Many are quite, are quite constructive. But again, I think one should try to live a self-reflective life and step back and really do some introspection around, what is it that is meaningful to me, and what do I want to spend my limited time on this earth dealing with. I think it's very, very, very important to do that.
Totally. Well, let's look forward now instead of backwards for a minute. What are there any specific mountains left you still want to climb following your analogy? I mean, you've done obviously a lot of stuff. Are there specific mountains that are ahead of you that you still want to climb?
I'm just getting warmed up, Richard. Yeah, I mean, I think I do try to think less. The short answer is yes, because I still feel like I haven't fully tested the limits of what could be done.
Yeah.
And I wanna, if I reach a point where I say I've completely maxed out, that's fine. At least I know I will have reached, I will have tried. I think that's it's sort of like, Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena trying to do something, but trying to be really engaged, and not a bystander. But I try to, for me personally, Richard, I want there to be a balance in terms of I'll set some concrete goals, right? Things that I might be thinking about, I might want to do. And I'll put them out there just as placeholders or just as some sort of reference point. But at the same time, that's in some ways less important than directionally and on a day-to-day basis. Are we improving? Are we enjoying the ride? Are we making an impact for others? Those kinds of things to me are less important. I know people like to hear that you want to, have this role, or somebody wants to, be the head of an organization, or run for public office, or have an award-winning podcast, whatever it is. That's you, Richard. You've done all these things.
I was going to ask you whether being a late night talk show host is on your list of mountains to climb.
There's so many people that would be infinitely better. You've got the square jaw and the background for it. So once you do that, then I'm happy to fill in for you when you're on vacation.
Well, Dean, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time. It's always good to catch up with you and hear what you're doing. So I really appreciate your taking.
Thanks so much, Richard. All the best.
This is Richard Hsu and Dean Fealk. Thanks.